Yeah, I'd like to start this meeting. Yeah. My name is Barney. I'm an addict.
I'm Barney.
In keeping with our 11th tradition, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. If anyone here represents the media agency, please contact Jeff R. Members of North Central Indiana area of Narcotics Anonymous welcomes you to the 4th annual We Grow with Love convention. We would like to thank you for joining us in this celebration of recovery. We are deeply grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and find great joy in being able to express our gratitude here with you, our family, in Narcotics Anonymous. We are certain that when we come together to share our lives and our love with each other, a miracle happens. Our recovery takes hard work, courage, and commitment. Those are the things that carry us through as we seek the spiritual growth that comes from working the 12 steps. Never alone, we do this together for each other, knowing that we need each other because more than anything else, we grow with love. The preface of the basic text begins, "The full fruit of labor of love lives in the harvest, and it always comes in at the right season. For us, our season has come." Would someone like to read just for today?
Hi, I'm Karen, and I'm an addict.
How are you doing?
Just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new association, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Diane.
I'm going to move over because they asked me to. Not that usually anybody has trouble hearing me. I'm a recovering addict named Diane. And I keep confusing the name of this workshop, so I had to put it out so I knew what it was. It's How Do We Accept Life on Life's Terms. Mark asked me if I'd do a workshop, and I said sure. And then I found out last night when I got here what it was about. So I don't do a whole lot of preparing, obviously. What I do is a whole lot of praying. And I guess if I wanted to be really flippant, that's how I do that. That's how I deal with life on life's terms. You know, when I got here, I kind of thought that we'd skip merrily along hand in hand. You know, that it would be just peaches and cream and everything would be wonderful. You know, that all of the horrendous things were back there in my other life, you know, and that life would be fair. And I haven't found that to be true here on a day-to-day basis, you know, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Things happen, you know, and I had to learn how to deal with them clean. Some years ago, my first sponsor was killed by a drunk driver while she was on vacation. I thought that was really unfair. I was really angry. She'd only been my sponsor a short time. I was new in recovery. And it's like, whoa, what's the deal here, guys? You know, we're supposed to walk hand in hand. Somewhere I read that after the first step. And they told me to keep coming back. And I did. And I found out that there was no comma after the first step that said that, you know, things would go my way. I've been around long enough to have gotten through certain things. I have some experiences in some areas on how to get through them clean. There are some areas in my life that I don't have experience in how to get through it clean. For me, that's what this is about, you know. I know how to get out of my own pain. I know how to use. What I didn't know how to do when I got here was to stay clean. I didn't know how to wake up in the morning, and I didn't know how to go to sleep at night. I knew how to come to, and I knew how to pass out. You know, I just now have been going through some things in my life that I've lost my second sponsor. She's very ill, and she's unable to sponsor me. She lives in Texas. And I lost her as a sponsor, not as a friend, but as a sponsor, just due to what's going on in her life. My area is going down the tubes. The meetings in my area are are getting smaller and smaller, and we've lost all the women, and it's like, how am I supposed to deal with what's going on in my life when my support system's not there, you know? And a few weeks ago, it finally dawned on me as I was doing some reading that there are things that I've learned here that even if physically there's no one there, I have a God of my own understanding today that is always there for me. Somebody once told me when I was talking about my first sponsor, and her name happened to be Diane also, and I was sharing some things that she had given me and how much I missed her. And this person said, she's still with you. Every time you give her away, every time you share her, she's still there, you know. And I had to realize that again this week, you know, or a few weeks ago, that what I've learned here helps me to deal with life on life's terms. That's what I was not able to do. That's why I was out in the other life. I didn't know how to do that. And what I learned here, how to pray, you know, that it's okay to be angry with God, that it's okay to disagree with my sponsor or other loved ones in the program, that it doesn't sever our relationship just because we don't agree on everything. That if I'm honest, if I come into the meetings and I tell you I'm fine and everything in my life is fine, you're not going to be able to share your experience with me. But if I come into the meetings and I'm honest about what's going on in my life, or that I'm going through some fear, which I am now because I've got my house up for sale and I'm thinking of moving out of the area, and that means starting over with, you know, with my job, and it's like, I don't want to do that. I just spent 3 years trying to find childcare to take care of the kids that are in my home so that I can do things like go to meetings and come to conventions, and it's like, this is a hard bunch of kids to get anybody that wants to go in and stay with them for any length of time. And walking in faith. You know, I learned that from you guys, because I sure as hell didn't have that when I got here either, have any faith. And so I put my house up for sale, and somebody said, aren't you in a panic? And I said, well, I have some fear about it, but no, I'm not in a panic, because I learned here that I do the footwork. And if my house sells, then it sells. And if it doesn't, why would I expend all that energy to panic? You know, and that's something else that I've learned here. My son is very ill right now, and I find that to be the hardest. I've lost a lot of people in this program. I've lost people to relapse and to diseases that are as a direct result of this disease. And most of my family, my blood family. And I think the hardest thing, and I've lost loved ones. You know, I lost a marriage since I've been here. I lost another significant other to the insanities of this disease. And the hardest thing to do was with my son, is trusting the God of my understanding, not to heal my son and cure him and make him well. You know, that's what I would have. But trusting the God of my understanding that no matter what goes down here, no matter what the results are, that I'll get through it clean. You know, and knowing that I don't have this control, and that I can't fix it, and that I have to trust. And that's what y'all taught me to do that, because I sure didn't have that. I wanted to control everything. I wanted you to do what you were supposed to do, and I wanted this one to do what they were supposed to do. And I'm not going to say that it's easier, but it's less overwhelming to trust in this God of my understanding. I'm not always happy with how things turn out. I wasn't happy to lose my sponsor by the actions of a drunk driver. I'm not happy that my son is ill. But there is a peace within me that allows me to know that everything is just the way it's supposed to be, and that I'm okay. and that thus far I have not found a reason to pick up. I have an owner's manual, you know, and that's this guy here, the basic text. If you don't have one, get one. If you got one, it's called a basic text, and I learned, well, I was going to say early on, but I had a few years in this program before I learned this, and that I thought it was just something you read occasionally and dug out when you were bored. Nobody told me it was a textbook and to read it and to study it. And I do. I read it this morning, somebody asked to take a bar, and I said, my God, you know, it's all marked up and written in, and it's like, yeah. Because I don't read textbooks. When I was in college, I didn't read those books, I studied them. I needed to learn what was in there in order to pass the exam. And I needed to learn what was in here in order to live clean today. You know, I had to learn what the directions were, and I often hear it shared in meetings that you're supposed to follow the suggestions. I have not found that in my basic text anywhere. What I've found in the basic text is it says to follow these simple directions. There's a world of difference. You know, that if I want recovery, I need to follow the directions. And the directions are in the owner's manual. You know, and so I study it. And I rely on people in this program. I don't make gods out of them, and I don't put them up on pedestals. And I allow them to be on the page that they're on. But I do rely on them for their strength and their experience. Because I don't have to go through any of this alone. None of it. My dad died 2 years ago, and he was very ill when I left for Florida, and another addict said, you're going by yourself, and I said, Florida's kind of a long ways from Wisconsin, you know. And they said, I'll go with you, and which was really nice, because I didn't have to be alone. And the day that I arrived in Florida, my father died before I got to the house, and that was really difficult. I was in a meeting that night. I was in a meeting the night that I buried my dad. I was at a picnic the following day. And although I was like, I don't know how far it is, 1,000, 1,200 miles, whatever it is, I wasn't alone. You know, I didn't have to be. I could have chosen to do that. And there was times in my recovery that I do that. I choose to be alone and to wallow and to, you know, try to do this on my own. And but again, I don't want to use the word easy because it's not necessarily easy. It's just less overwhelming if I drag myself out and I get to the meeting and I get the support and the love of other people, you know. For me, that's what I do today. I have a network of people. I go to meetings. I try to be honest. I can remember early in my recovery, I was living in Texas. I still do geographical moves, guys. You know, for whatever reason, I move around a lot. And I was in Texas, and this man was, I was new to the area, and this man was sharing, and he was in so much pain. And in my arrogance, I kept thinking, God, I hope this guy comes back. You know, I hope he just keeps coming back, because it's going to get different. And I was there when he got his 25-year medallion, you know. And that showed me that it's okay and that it's good to share honestly what's going on with me. Because that gave me hope. Because I thought I had to be fine and everything. If I work this program right, I best not be in pain, and I best not get angry, and, you know, I best not do all the stuff, you know, and things should work right and doors should always open. And the man taught me a very valuable lesson, and that's, you know, cut the bullshit and cut through the fat, get down to the bone and get honest, because our lives depend on it. And that's how it works for me today, and I still practice that. I hit my knees. I talk to God a lot. You know, I lose my serenity a lot. You should have been with me coming through Chicago yesterday. You know, I had this newcomer in the car. He's got 30 days, and it's like, I'm really trying not to, you know, I wasn't doing things. I wasn't like running people off the road, which is what I really wanted to do. But I was talking about it. I said, you know, a few years ago, this is what I would have been doing, and I don't have to do that today. But it's okay to be honest with newcomers, too, and let them know, you know. And I tell people that, you know, when we talk about sponsorship in meetings and stuff like that, and it's like, follow me home. Because I can sound good. We all do. We clean up rather nice. We look pretty good. We sound pretty good, you know. And come home. Come with me. See how I live. You know, let's take a ride through Chicago together, you know. Let's go shopping. See how I treat the guy at the gas station. See how I treat my children or my neighbor. And then decide if you like what you see. Don't listen to what I say, you know. But come see how I live. Come spend a day with me. Come spend a weekend with me. You know, and I do that. And I take people with me because who I am is who I am, and I don't work this perfectly, and there is no, thank God, model of the perfectly recovering addict, because I think we'd all come up short, I would, you know. I do the best I can today with what I've got, you know, spiritually, emotionally, and physically in this program. And none of it am I responsible for, except for the honesty, the open-mindedness, and the willingness. The rest of it comes from you guys and people around the tables all over, you know. That's where I get my strength from, and that's how we share the experience. And it's about, for me, it's about, I know we've been talking a lot about this lately, you know. The things in my life that are important to me today are very much different than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. What's important today is how I live my life and how I interact with you and with earthlings and with other breathing things on this planet. Not important to me whether I have a degree or I don't have a degree, or I have money or don't have money, or I got cars or I walk. What's really important to me today is how do I interact with other recovering addicts, and how do I interact with earthlings and little critters and things, you know. And for me, that's what it's about. And I do this program the way I've been told to do it and the way the book tells me to do it. I don't try to figure it out on my own, you know. And somehow that's worked. I've been able to stay clean today, you know. And to live long enough in this program to get through situations, to know that just for today in my life, there is nothing I can think of that would take me back out to using today. It's always an option for me. I used to say it wasn't. Somebody asked me if I was cured, and I said no. And they said, well, if you're not cured, then it's always an option. It's just when you choose not to activate today. And so I had to change my perspective on that too, you know. I don't know, that's how I do it, the way the book tells me, the way y'all have told me, to pray, talk to my sponsor, go to meetings, read the literature, talk to the God of my understanding. Don't pick up, suit up and show up. And when you can do nothing else, suit up and show up. And when you can do nothing else, suit up and show up, and don't pick up, because it gets different. I don't like to say it gets better because that's some kind of a judgment thing. But it gets different, you know. It's not going to stay the same, you know. And if I stay clean, chances are of it getting improved are a hell of a lot better than if I pick up. If I pick up, it's all over with. I lose it all, everything, you know. Quality of my life, if not my life. I used to think I'd be one of those addicts that if I relapsed, I'd die out there. I don't think I'd be that lucky today. I think if I picked up, I'd be one of them lingering souls, you know. So I choose not to do that just today. And I thank you, and I thank everyone for asking me to share in this workshop. John, are you here? Is John here yet? No, John. So what we'll do is throw it up into the floor. You want me to read something? Wait a minute. What? Okay, all right. Give me something to read. Here we go. Thanks for letting me share, guys. Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you do not wish to be taped, please let her know, and she'll turn the machine off. Okay? But they did ask, the tape people asked that if you're going to share, if you'd come up and share at the mic, because if you share from the floor, it doesn't pick up. Okay? Thanks. I'm going to move now.
We're not going to have the co-speaker.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Kathy. I'm a recovering addict.
Hi, Kathy.
When I go back to Milwaukee after this weekend, I'm not going to have any excuses for not having to have shared. I'm one that usually doesn't say much when I leave my area. I needed to be in this workshop today. There's a lot of things going on in my life that I'm not happy about, and I need to learn how to accept life on life's terms. There's a friend in the fellowship that's dying, and I've been very angry about it, and surprisingly very non-emotional. And I was sharing with somebody by the campfire this morning about how little I've been expressing my feelings around this person, because this guy has been my rock in my recovery. He's just always strong, so I seem to kind of be picking up where he's left off. I'm doing it for him now, and maybe that's what's making this whole situation so difficult emotionally, because I'm really not dealing with it. I show up at his place and I'm all tough and strong and supportive and cool, and this addict was telling me that it's okay if I cry around him, and it's okay that if I talk about him dying. I guess I really wasn't quite sure how to deal with it, and I think today I need to stop pretending that it's really not happening, and by pretending that it's not happening, hopefully that'll help my acceptance. And for him, I'm sorry for the suffering that he has to go through, but he has done so many wonderful things for NA. He is our H&I chair and has just done a wonderful, wonderful job in the jails and institutions, and I know that he's going to a much more wonderful place. My sadness and my anger comes from my losing him. That's going to leave an empty place in my life. And I guess that's being selfish, because my sponsors told me many times that whenever God takes somebody out of my life, that person will be replaced by somebody new. And I really needed to hear you share about how when somebody is gone, that they're not gone if you're still sharing. I guess I really needed to hear that because of my mom, because I lost my mom before I got clean. So I haven't had any time to share with her being in recovery. And boy, any of you that have parents that you think you want to try to make amends to, I would suggest that you try doing it. I'm so envious of people who have a chance to make amends to not only their family members when they're clean, but to raise children while they're clean. My son was pretty well grown up before I got clean, and I missed out on so much, and I'm still working on learning to accept my past there. not be beating myself up, and he did not deserve a lot of the stuff that he went through, but my disease was in control, and this is all acceptance again. And I'm just really glad to be here. Boy, this area is filled with spirituality. I felt so safe since I've got here. It's nice to see all of you, and with that I pass.
Never late.
Hi, I'm an addict. My name's John.
Hi, John.
I guess I was supposed to be here a little earlier. I'm real comfortable here. I took a nice nap after such a good breakfast. Oh, I just woke up. I don't know if I'm dealing with life on life's terms this way or if I was isolating again. I know that I get real nervous before I speak in front of anybody, and that's real normal. I've been around this fellowship for about 4 years, and anybody that knew me when I first came in, I guess the reason that everybody smiles when they see me is I was a real angry person when I came around. And boy, when I look back on that, and I look back on my lifestyle and the way I acted, the way I dealt with life on life's terms before, it's the total opposite of how I deal with them today. You know, anger was the worst thing that, I mean, it was my friend, you know. I ruled people by anger, by hate, you know, and violence. And today it's the total opposite. A long time ago, in fact, I looked around for it, but I haven't found it yet, but it's always with me as a piece of paper with a toolbox on it that sponsor gave me. And that's always with me. Everywhere I go, I put something else in this toolbox. You know, it was just a simple piece of paper with a toolbox written on it. But to me, it's in my head, and I am forever taking one-liners from everybody that I walk through in life. When I think about life on life's terms, I think about honesty. That's the one spiritual principle that I live and sleep for. You know, if I'm not honest, I'm not living the program at all. So, to deal with life on life's terms any other way is foreign to me. You know, it's just the reverse side of the coin of how I used to be. I've got an accountant today, and he gave me a one-liner that's been sticking with me because we were talking about his credibility. You know, I had a real estate agent that wanted him to do something a certain way, and he talked to her on the phone, and after he got done talking to her on the phone, he was talking about his credibility. His credibility is his honesty. He said, if I don't have my credibility, what do I have? You know, and I can take that for weeks. It'll keep me clean. It'll keep me honest. Because I think back on my life, boy, my credibility was horrible. But today I have a lot of memories of people that have been around and that haven't been around, that are living and dead. And for me to deal with life on life's terms, I use God a lot. You know, I had a real good upbringing. My father was a very religious person who I watched die in this fellowship. You know, while I was in this fellowship, I watched cancer eat him up for six or 7 months. And all my life, he put me through Catholic school, and I hated him for it because to me it was just, I hated authority. You know, he was just doing the best he could do to raise me, and he gave me one-liners all his life. And it wasn't until he was dead and gone that I really realized how much he taught me, you know. Today, on a daily basis, I talk to God and my Father, you know. It's amazing to me how much he teaches me being dead. You know, he always told me to roll with the punches. You know, I took that literally and fought half my life. You know, fought authority and fought, you know, in every situation. Today I understand to roll with the punches means a whole lot more. I get into scenarios over and over and over again. And someone once told me that everything comes full circle till you get it right. And I understand it's the way I react to people. You know, the best thing that I did in this fellowship was to work on John for about 1.5 years and stay out of a relationship. I still believe that. You know, I've had lengthy talks with people who wanted to argue it's not in the book. Well, it's not in the book. It's just a suggestion, you know, and I quit fighting authority and I took some suggestions. And that is my foundation in recovery, is that I worked on John, and it's much easier for me to work on me today because of that. I was reading Just for Today, and they were talking about in addiction how we can definitely tell the symptoms, you know, the obsession to use, and part of it was the way people try to manipulate people and to make the outcome be just exactly what they want it to be. And those last part of that line, I was like, wow, manipulating people and judging people and trying to make, you know, get the outcome to come the way they want it. I know a lot of people that do that today that don't use. It made me look at me. How much do I do that, you know? And that's how I deal with life on life's terms. I continually look at me. Scenarios come around, and what's my part in them? You know, how much do I have to do with the situation? How much do I want this outcome to happen this way? You know, if I didn't have a God in my life, and today I have this spiritual program, and I'm not a religious person, but I have a God in my life that I talk to daily, and he's a hilarious person in my life because I never get what I want when I want it, and I learned that a long time ago, so it's like, just slow down, you know. If this is meant to be, it will be. I never thought that I would have so much spiritually and so much stuff in my life in the short time I've been around here. You know, I live in an apartment, and my fiance, I'm engaged. Her one-liner was always, just put it in the basement, and I can't hardly get in the basement anymore. You know, it's just so much stuff. And I tell her to slow down, she tells me to slow down. You know, we can obsess on a zillion different things. But I'm learning a lot about balance, you know. The simplest things that make me deal with life on life's terms are children. You know, there's 3 little beautiful children in my life, and the 3-year-old teaches me more than the 6-year-old or the 9-year-old. She keeps me honest on a daily basis. She tells me how to drive. She teaches me that police will pull me over, you know, to put a seatbelt on, to slow down constantly, you know. She keeps me very honest. She'll ask me a question she knows the answer to, and calls me on my lies if I tell her the wrong answer, because she's just a little sponge, you know. I love her dearly, you know. She's taught me how to grow up. You know, this morning I took a walk and I was reflecting on what's changed since last year. Well, I've grown up a lot. You know, I know that this is a program where we grow up and we mature. And I think last year I was such a child as compared to what I am this year. You know, I still wanted to do silly things and tease grown-ups and children alike. And this year I'm a little more grown up. You know, maybe it was, I pulled off some more of those masks that I was putting back on when my father passed, and I realized that, you know, I have to be a father figure to my brothers. You know, I have to be there for my mother. And it's hard to deal with my mother. You know, I love her dearly. I've yet to make amends to her because every time I go and tell her something and bring up something from the past, she takes it out to extreme, and I throw a little program in, and I get so much harassment from her about how that program's for you and not for me, and I don't want to hear about it. And it's real hard because I think to the day my mother dies, she will always tell me how I should live. You know, and I have to accept her the way she is. And it's real hard sometimes. It's real hard for me sometimes to listen to her being my mother, to be so judgmental towards everyone. You know, that's her way. You know, I want to put labels and say this is her character defect and this is this and this is that. And she's just my mother. You know, all I can do is just be John, you know, and try to be caring and loving around her. There's a lot of times where I go over there and just say, hey, I just came over to give you a hug, you know, and just tell you I love you. And maybe that makes an impact on her day. Most times it does. But I just try to be a better person. I know that if it wasn't for meetings and if it wasn't for the H&I work that I'm back into, I don't know how I'd get any better. You know, if I don't work these 12 steps, then I'm real lost. Thank God I have a sponsor who is leaps and bounds ahead of me, and he has a sponsor who's leaps and bounds ahead of him. And I see it now. You know, I had no clue a year ago where the two of those men were going. You know, and I have someone to follow behind and learn. I don't think I'll catch up to either one of them, and that's all right. When the time is right, then that's when I'm where I'm supposed to be. They always tell me that, and I hated that saying, but I understand it a little more today. Life's just unkind. You know, life is full of, my life is full of people that relapse, people that don't want to listen. You know, for 12 years of my life, I ran around in a running through this Department of Corrections institutions, and I thought that was how life was. And I was angry and hateful and came into this program and learned a totally different new way of life, you know, after that phase of my life was over. It took me about 2 years to get cleared to do H&I work at the county jail, the county I'm from. And it's still real strange for me today to walk in there and walk back out. But most of the guys that come to those meetings know me, you know, and it's a good feeling because they know I don't have to prove myself to those guys. Most of them are shocked that I'm there, and I just tell them what I do today. You know, I had a guy the other day look at me and say, John, your ears must really burn all the time. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, you have a lot of people in here that don't come to meetings, but they're talking real good about you. You know, and little things like that make this program and life just worthwhile. You know, that's like the pillow or the cushion for the day to deal with life on life's terms, because life's not unfair. You know, when I go ahead and I pay all my bills on time and try to say, hey, everything's okay to people, I know I'm putting on another mask because everything is never okay. You know, when you pay all your bills, there's always a car breaking down, a kid getting sick, something in the house tearing up that has to be fixed. There'll never be enough money. There'll always be chaos. You know, I don't care if I'm a millionaire or if I'm working for minimum wage at McDonald's. There'll always be some kind of another thing where you just have to take a deep breath and go, oh, well, you know, that's just life. That's just life. And I don't get mad anymore. You know, I don't punch holes in the walls. I don't scream and yell at people. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to react when I should just act as a responsible person, you know. And I'm learning a lot. You know, I still lose my temper. I still yell at people. You know, I'm self-employed, and I still hire my own guys. I don't hire and fire them like I used to. I'm not firing them like I used to. I've slowed down. You know, I used to hire a guy and fire him the same day because he wouldn't do things my way. Now I'm understanding that you know, they have to learn the way I learn, you know, and I need to learn patience, and they teach me a lot of patience. I'm just real shocked that I have credit today. You know, I had nothing when I came in here, and my life isn't so much of a wreck. So dealing with life on life's terms, I found out that I'm somebody today. You know, I was thinking about self-esteem, and I have some self-esteem today. You know, I have a lot of friends, that's for sure. Someone asked me why I was going to Indiana, and I said to see my friends, and I didn't have to explain anything more. I said I get together with a lot of friends, and I have a lot of fun, and I'll never stop doing it. And they were like, wow, that's really cool. I wish I had a place to do that, you know. Life is real unfair. Thank God I have a program with so many loving people. I can still remember the last time I used, and the reason I came back to the fellowship was it was the only place in my heart that I knew I could come where there was a lot of love and care. And that's what brought me back, the attraction of this program, and that was all. You know? And all I wanted to do was get rid of this monster in my head, you know, this addiction. And now I know that, you know, I need to start, I can work on all the rest of me now that the obsession is gone. And I can work on all the newcomers I know. You know, I also chair a hospital where it's an introduction to Narcotics Anonymous, and it's so nice to talk to somebody that knows nothing about NA, you know, and teach them that they don't have to go through that revolving, using up their medical expenses to check into the hospital to get dried out to go back out there with dealing with life on life's terms without NA. You know, a lot of people in life still know nothing about this program. You know, and I forget about that until I walk into the hospital and they're like, they only let me do this for 7 days, and now I got to go back out there and get high some more and get drunk some more. And I'm like, please don't. You know, there's a much better way of life. So that I found out that I'm not on a pedestal, and I'm not this person with all this wisdom. I'm just real fortunate that I know more than some other people. There's not a lot of stupid people. There are just a lot of misinformed people. Even in this program, there's a lot of things that no one sat down and told anyone. You know, luckily I've been told a lot by a lot of people, and I ask a lot of questions. I've always been outspoken and never scared to ask questions. You know, just like a child, just like the child that just keeps saying why. You know, which gets monotonous at times, but I wanted recovery so bad I was monotonous. I had to know why this and why that. And when I accept life on life's terms, some things just are. Some things just are. There's always be chaos in life. You know, I don't even watch the news anymore. You know, I watch the weather. You know, which is what I have to do because I work outside. But I don't like to even watch the TV with all the horrible news, you know, because I can't blame it all on drugs, but most of the horrible news on the TV set is behind drugs, you know, and greed and things that we have to work on here in the program. But I just deal with life on life's terms, basically with the program. You know, I was taught one thing when I came into the program: if you have a problem that's bothering you, and pain is the biggest motivator here, you know, you take it to your sponsor, you know, and if you don't get enough relief by taking it to your sponsor, you take it to the tables, you know, and if those two don't work real well, then try the third combination, of was get on your knees, you know, get humble enough to get on your knees without praying, riding down the street in your car, or walking around, you know, in a daze. Get humble and get on your knees and pray to the God, or the God of your understanding, you know, your higher power. You know, and the combination of those three things seemed to give me a lot of relief, you know, from life on life's terms, and basically that's where we get all our pain, is from life's terms. You know, for so many years I didn't deal with life's terms. I medicated and muddled through them, and I've learned that I don't have to always feel happy, you know. I definitely feel sad a lot. I found out that I learn a whole lot more from my mistakes and from unhappy situations than I do from having a day that's nothing going wrong and nothing bothering me. You know, the pain teaches me a lot more than all those good days. You know, the pain that I watch other people go through teaches me a whole bunch. I think I learn more from the people around this program that are doing the wrong things than from the people that do the right things. When I see people running in frantic after 3 weeks without meetings, that teaches me a lot more than someone that's been to meetings every day in pain. You know, because I know the reason why he's in pain, because all the defects and all the, you know, it's like being out there using. I don't think today I could go 3 weeks without a meeting. You know, I don't want to play with that. You know, I don't want pain anymore. You know, I hear people talk about I'm comfortable with chaos and pain. I don't like it. I don't want it. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know. I don't think I ever was. I just didn't know a different way. I love everybody here. I feel real honored to be part of the fellowship and to be part of this convention. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, and Barney, we still got a little bit of time. Anybody wants to share?
Hi, my name's Frank. I'm an addict.
Hi, Frank.
And they had to get up there for a couple different reasons, you know. One, because I'm in kind of like just do it mode. It's like yesterday I kind of wanted a haircut, so I went up to the barber shop and I sat up in a chair and said, you know, give me a flat top, you know. And I sat there and all these feelings went through me as he was shaving all my hair off my head. And, you know, it's like, well, it's too late now. You know, and then I came to the realization that, well, you know, if I don't like it, you know, it'll just grow back. No big deal. And, you know, a lot of other things going on in my life, you know. I just bought a house, and then I had to wait 2 months for the lady to move out of the house that I bought, and it was like, you know, I was really obsessed about that. And then when I finally got in the house, it was like, it smelled really bad from the animals that she had in there, and it wasn't like that when I bought it, and I was like really obsessed about that. And, you know, I said, well, this really sucks, you know, but, you know, I sat back and I dealt with it. And the first thing I did was I got in there and I tore everything out of the house that was in there, all the paneling on the walls, and, you know, it's just like, you know, and then I sit back and look at it right now, it's like, wow, you know, undergoing these big projects, you know, and not being, you know, fearful of it, or, you know, it's just like, wow, let's just do it, you know. And there's a lot of big things, you know, going on in my life. And I know that the house that I'm living in right now, about 4 months ago, I had a fire in the lower unit because I had some tenants down there that got into a disagreement with me, and I was evicting them because they were smoking pot in my house, and I wasn't going to put up with it no more. You know, I gave them enough warnings, and I was not going to, you know, sit in my own living room and watch TV or whatever and smell pot smoke in my own house, you know. I had to evict them, and, you know, they decided that, you know, they had a big argument, and, you know, through dope fiend moves or whatever, you know, was going on down there, conflict between the two people that were living down there, tried to burn the house down while I was sleeping upstairs, you know. And, you know, there's so many tragedies that happened in my life in the last 6 months, 6 or 8 months, you know, and I can sit back and look at, wow, you know, I actually dealt with life on life's terms, and I didn't get, you know, extremely angry, you know, I didn't really get down on myself about it, And, you know, it's like the three biggest things in my life was, you know, my work, the place where I live, and how I deal with friends and my support group in my life. You know, recovery always comes first. And I've been going to meetings. I've made a commitment to go to 4 meetings a week, and that seems to work okay for me. And then sometimes I go to more, and sometimes I miss 1 or 2. And, you know, that seems to work okay for me. I've been able to deal with life. And the biggest thing that I did lately is, you know, I've been kind of like what I call burn the candle at both ends, working my job and then trying to fix up my 2 houses at the same time. And, you know, for 10 years now, I had a partnership with my brother. And there was a lot of codependency, and it seemed like I would come to my brother's rescue on a daily basis, and I felt like I was in this big squirrel cage, you know. And then all this other stuff going on in my life. I made the decision to walk away from it. And so now here I am, you know, walking away from what life was in the past and then redeveloping it into what I choose it to be today. And I know that, you know, my relationship with my higher power today is one of the biggest things, you know, that can help me out. I know that, you know, I have priorities in life, and one is to get my houses in order. And you know, I have a substantial, you know, money income from, you know, my insurance company from my fire job and stuff that I can live on. And, you know, life is just so different for me today than it could have ever been in the past. And that if it was my doing, it would have not been this way. And, you know, not to say that, you know, well, hey, it's really good or really bad, but, you know, I haven't had to pick up drugs, and I've been able to deal with life, you know, because I no longer say shit happens, I say life happens, you know. And just yesterday, my relationship with my roommate went bad because, you know, I was letting him borrow my car, and he just got his driver's license, and then he disappeared for 6 hours, you know. And I was like really obsessed over it. It was like my life was unmanageable because of this. And I was like, you know, I wasn't sleeping. I was running around the house, looking out all the windows, obsessing over thoughts and ideas, you know. So I did the next best thing, you know, to deal with it. I went out in my truck and I got my NA book, my manual, and I opened up and I started calling numbers, and I started talking to people, and I started sharing about it, you know. And I was able to deal with it by writing out a few things. You know, this is what I need to do. These are the consequences of you know, the situation. You know, and I dealt with it. You know, and it's okay now. And I know that how to deal with life on life's terms is right. You know, at my fingertips today, and I have the tools to do that. And I needed to come up here and share about that, what's going on in my life today, because I think it's really big stuff. You know, a lot of people have a hard time doing the things that I've accomplished in my life today. And, you know, I don't really think it's a big thing, but then when I share it with other people, they're like, whoa, I wouldn't be able to do that. You know, and then I start to feel good inside, thinking, wow, you know, I have accomplished something. This is really cool, you know. And, you know, I'm just going to keep on just doing it, you know. And I had an appendix operation a month ago also, and it was a pretty big ordeal for me. And to go into a hospital and deal with, you know, drugs and nurses and stuff. And I was able to do okay with it, you know. I had you know, codeine pills in my house, and I only had to take 1 or 2 of them, and me and my roommate dumped them out after I got my stitches out, and it was okay. I was able to deal with that. And you know, I'm just going to keep on just doing it and going to meetings, and life goes on, and I'm able to deal with that today. Thanks.
Thanks, Frank.
Hi, I'm Loretta, and I'm an addict. Hi, everybody. This is a good topic for me, dealing with life on life's terms. That is a hard thing for me every day. Sometimes when I have more problems, it's harder, but I work in a nursing home, and I am a housekeeper, and I deal with finding pills on the floor all the time. And sometimes here lately, I've been in the program a year, and here lately, it's been getting hard for me to pick him up and give him to the nurse, and then when I find out what they were, I thought, oh, I wish I would have kept that, and that's getting pretty bad. So I deal with life on life's terms by every day. I start out with the third step prayer. I also, I was told, my sponsor told me, I can't, he can, I think I'll let him. And I do that every day. And I also, I'm also on H&I committee, and I take into the prison and into work release program. I take meetings in, and I tell you, that really helps me deal with life. I think I have problems. These people are sitting in prison and jail, and they're coming to these meetings, and they have the men in prison have more of a spiritual. They're so uplifting that they can get drugs and alcohol in prison just like we can. People don't believe that, but they do. And I think to see them in their spiritual, the way they are, their spiritual program is just great. And I can't understand why anybody in the program wouldn't want to take meetings. Everybody should volunteer for that. That's the way I look at it. It's so uplifting, and that helps me work my program. And it helps me accept my problems, which are minute compared to theirs, and they are so happy. I don't ever understand it, but and working in a nursing home like I do, these people have a hard time too. And I find working my program helping them. They'll have a problem, and I'll think. And when I have a problem, people tell what they tell me. I find myself telling them and helping them work. Actually, I'm helping them work a program. I guess because they're so down and they think they're stuck there, and and I just tell them, and some of them come with terms to me. One lady came to me and she said, if God is so good to everybody and never gives anybody any more than they can handle, how come there's so many murders or not murders, people killing themselves? I had to think about that for a little bit, and I said, well, I guess they haven't found God yet, and they can't handle life. I don't know. I wondered if that come out of my mouth. But they did. I think God gave me this job at the nursing home. Right the day I get out of treatment, I got this job, and it's helped me keep sober. And I think it helps me handle life on life's terms by dealing with these people and working a program and H&I and accept. It helps me accept things. Acceptance is a big thing, and if you can't, when I find myself getting down, I think, well, I'm not doing something right. Even if I'm going to 5 meetings a week, I'm still feeling down, something's not right. And it's usually, I'll hear it at a meeting usually. Meetings are a big thing. And these conventions I've got 2 sponsees I've brought to their first convention this weekend, and they're really having a good time. And I think they'll learn a lot. This is my 2nd year here, and I love it. That's all I have.
We got about 10 minutes left here. Anybody else wants to share?
Hello, family. I'm an addict called Howard.
Hi, Howard.
I'm truly grateful to get another convention here, and I'm glad I got a God of my own understanding. and gave me the knowledge just to be here. Dealing with the program on the program term, that's not the topic, is it?
Life on life's terms.
Same thing for me. Same thing, because I didn't have a life until I got the program, you know? I thought I had a life. I was just existing, and today I'm honestly living because of the program. Dealing with life without medication, without drugs, without using something outside of myself to deal. And that's a great freedom. And I got it through sponsorships and the steps of Narcotics Anonymous. This program is it's so widespread and uplifting. It teaches me how to deal with grief. It teaches me how to deal with a lot of different things through just experience, and mainly through other people's experiences. When people can get up and get honest at a table, at a coffee shop, at a restaurant, and really open up and tell you what's going on with them, it's something I never would have even imagined, you know, about just being around people in Narcotics Anonymous. It's giving me a life. No matter what goes on, I know that I don't have to use any mind or mood altering chemicals. And that's a great freedom, because in my old life, I had to give that one up. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know that I didn't have to use, you know. So by me being able to just stay on the program and maintain a way of life in which I love, I have to do it just for the day. I have to do it with the help of my higher power, the help of the tools that I acquired in this program to keep living, you know. Because today I am a pro-lifer, you know. I never thought I was a pro-lifer, but today I am. And the reason I'm a pro-lifer is because of this program of Narcotics Anonymous. I want to live. I don't want to die. You know, my first home group was the Live or Die group. It was in Flint, Michigan, and it was the best home group I ever had in my life, because it showed me, the name of it was just enough. It was about me living or dying, you know. And it didn't have to be a physical death. It could have been the death of me just picking up another drug and being out of my mind. So today I'm truly grateful for Narcotics Anonymous and for that group, you know. And if you got a home group and you don't think it's the best home group in the world, you better get another one. I mean, you just ought to get you another home group, you know. Because this is a new way of life in which I want to live for the rest of my life. So I have to keep doing what I'm doing, you know. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.
My name's Betty. I'm an addict.
Hi, Betty.
Dealing on life's terms is really important for me today, because I've been going through a lot of stuff lately, you know, it's a lot of pain. I just ended a 5-year relationship because the guy just couldn't stay clean, and when he finally got a shotgun, I said, "That's it. You know, he's too insane." Plus, I watch, because I have AIDS. I'm involved in a lot of AIDS volunteer work, and I watch a lot of friends die. And I get real angry sometimes at the Creator, and I think, why does this have to happen? But I know that's life, and that's how they pass. And when I first came out with having AIDS in the program, I had some people walk away from me, and I had some people just kind of back off from me, and I got really angry about that, and I thought that it was just rejection. fear, and it could be unknown fears, but it could also be that those people have a real hard time dealing with somebody that's going to die. They don't want to do that. They don't want to get close to them. And that's okay, if that's where they're at. I'm grateful I saw Diane earlier this morning and got a little chance to talk to her. I don't have a lot of things accomplished in my life. I mean, I'm a single parent, and I'm on disability, and I didn't accept life on life's terms earlier this year, and I blew it. I was down to 86 pounds at one time, and my bones were rubbing together so bad they put me on pain medication. I just kept taking it, and an addict finally confronted me. She's like my best friend. She finally confronted me about it, and so I weaned off of it. And then I made a couple suicide attempts, and I was so angry at myself because I had, like almost 7 years clean in this program, and but I looked at suicide as a relapse, because it's a way to escape, and a couple people helped me to see that, and I'm just grateful to be back around, and my attempts weren't successful. I've got it in my head now that I plan on living for a long time, and all that the Creator's going to say when I exit this world stage, right? And, there is a lot of pain in life, but, you got to share it, or it just, with me, it just bottles up inside, and I can just lay on the couch all day going, and I'm really grateful for this program and for the friends I have in this program, because it's been a lifesaver for me. The people that haven't given up on me have been just lifesavers. The people that call, see how I am, or I can call them at any time and see how they are. It's just been really a lifesaver for me, because I was going down fast. So I'm real grateful to be here today, and grateful to the people that spoke. Thanks.
Thanks, Betty.
My name is Carl. Slowly grateful, recovering addict today. Guess I'll take it out. Man, living life on life's terms. Thank God for this program in Narcotics Anonymous. Came from Gary to South Bend last year on this day, one day clean, and came here with a broken heart, in love with a woman I'd been with for 18 years, and a marriage that was over, and I didn't know how to deal with that. Coming here after using for the last time, didn't think it was my last time using, but actually was my last time using. Today I have a whole year of being clean.
Congratulations.
And it was a struggle, coming to the tables and talking about the pain that was inside of me. Coming to the tables and crying to the people that I don't even know, and telling them that I am hurting, and wondering, when is God going to let this go? When he's going to take it away from me? But today I know it's a process. I had to go through all that. I had to feel all that pain and go through it, and be able to talk about it. Calling up my sponsor and him telling me, I'm not a psychiatrist, Carl. You just have to keep on going. Whatever you do, successful day if you don't use. I'm like, yeah, okay, but dang, when does the pain go? Today I can honestly say that I don't think about my wife as much as I used to. I still think about my wife. I still pray that I can still keep her. The divorce supposed to came final last month. It didn't come final. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe my God is working for me. In the program in South Bend, a lot of people have gotten back what they had once lost. I've gotten a lot back myself to be grateful for, but the one thing I wanted was my wife. I don't know, maybe in time, maybe I'll get that back. If not, that's okay too, because today I'm happy where I'm at. it gave me a chance to take that suggestion that they had said not to get in a relationship for a year. I've had that chance. I've done a year without having a relationship. And I was at that meditation this morning, and I actually touched the opposite sex for the first time. You know, just rubbing the neck and the back, and that was strange because I once was used to being able to give a good massage, and my fingers just wasn't working because I had not touched a woman. And I talked to a woman yesterday, and I told her, you know, it's strange. It's been a year since I've kissed anybody, a woman, and I thought that would never happen in my life. But today it's okay, you know, because it's giving me a chance to work on Carl. You know, I know a lot about me today. You know, I'm working this 4th step, and I'm doing a thorough 4th step, and you know, I'm not crying as much as I did when I first started doing this 4th step. You know, I'm not alone anymore. I used to sit there and I'd be doing. I'm like, I'm so lonely. I wish that such and such is here, and then I remembered that I'm not alone. I got my God with me. As long as I got Him with me, I am not lonely. I might think I'm lonely, but I'm not lonely. If I just remember where I'm at, where I come from, and who's with me, who's helping me, I'm all right. I get through that night. Because I make meetings on top of meetings and on top of meetings, which help me stay focused on that I am sick. It's not about the drugs today that I'm working on. It's about the using of other individuals, the situations that I get into. Not trying to manipulate things today. Trying to stay out of myself and help other individuals. My sponsors always tell me that, thanks for calling me, Carl. You saved my life. But I didn't understand that until he told me, you need to get you a couple of sponsees. You could work the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd step with them. No more, because that's the only thing you know. And when I got him, I understood what he said, what he was telling me about. I was saving his life because these people have been able to save my life. Just by listening to them talk and me being able to share with them my experiences has really enhanced this individual here, you know, like, man, you know, this is really great, you know. It's my first convention. I got here yesterday, and I'm like, oh, what did I put myself into? You know, this is not going to be, you know, but like, I'm honest about everything, and I told the guy who was in the room with me, I said, man, you know, I snore real bad, and you better get an early start on your sleep. And when I come in the dorm, he was asleep, and he woke up maybe 15 minutes later complaining about the piano downstairs. So, man, you're not going to be here tonight then. If you complain about that piano down in the basement, wait till you see me, you know, in action. And I woke up about 2:30 that morning, this last night, and I was in the room by myself. And when I got up today, people was telling me, was that you down the hall snoring? We heard you wail. You know, something I have to work on, you know. They asked me, how did your wife go 18 years with you, you know, snoring like that? And I told them, well, if we made love, after making love, I'd go downstairs, and I'd give her an hour to go to sleep. And she was able to take me when I got upstairs and went to sleep. You know? They say they got these things for the nose. Maybe I go out and buy one and try it. See, I put myself in a controlled environment when I came to South Bend. And on the 14th of this month, I left that controlled environment and got my own place. And I'm able today to still keep that same balance that I had by the time I've been in these structured programs. I still got that same balance. I still go to a meeting. I go to work in the morning. I come home. I take my shower. I eat. I go to a meeting. I come back home. I read a little bit. I take my butt to bed. You know, I'm still trying to keep that same balance that has worked for me for a year. You know, and I'm happy where I'm at today. You know, still praying for, you know, they say watch what you pray for. I still pray for a woman in my life. You know, I want to get into that part of a relationship because there's two different individuals. You know, there's going to be some ups and downs. You know, I know if I can be honest and truthful in my affair with her, that things can work out. You know, that's something I want. Another part of my growth I want to go through again. You know, be it whoever it is. It might not last but a week or 2 weeks. You know, I might still be real sick in that area. You know, but that's something I have to wait and I have to see about. You know, I'm looking forward to it. With that, I pass. I see Marty's walk up on me.
Thanks, Carl.
I'd like to thank everybody for sharing it, shared. And need to end this workshop. I'd like to invite y'all to close with a group hug and a serenity prayer.